Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory due to Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahushai, Bahashim, Kapadash. Double honor to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone that rule well. It's like it. Peace and salutations to all the icon out in the four corners, teaching the truth and sincerity. This is Dr. Roquan Martha, GM Styles Camp, coming at you with a quick hit. Lord's willingness is edifying unto the hopeful elect. All right, because with us being brought into this beautiful truth of ours, we have to realize, all right, through the Spirit, and through our improper minds, that we fucked up, as according to on this side of the flood, because Yahweh Shem Shai had everything set up for us to dwell in peace. All right, but we fucked up. All right, we dropped the ball. We were a disobedient wife unto Yahweh Shem Shai. Yes, and with that, since we were disobedient, he had to chastise us. He had to put us into this captivity. All right. I was going to start here in Baruch, chapter 2, verse 30, but like other scriptures done popped into my la'ab, so I might go on a tangent a little bit, but all in all, this is all for the benefit of Yahweh Shem Shai and for the elect, okay? Because knowing that we messed up and we transgressed the law, statutes, and commandments of Yahweh Shem Shai in this way, therefore we must go through the growing pains or a chastisement. So I'm going to jump right here. All right, this is Baruch chapter 2, verse 30. It says, "For I knew that they would not hear me, because it is a stiff-necked people, but in the land of their captivity they shall remember themselves." Now, that land of captivity is over here in Babylon the Great, all right, where it was prophesied for us to go to in that Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 68. Baba Kushab pull that. This is Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 68. It says, "And Yahweh Shem Shai will bring thee into Egypt again with ships." Egypt, meaning double straits. Uh, uh, and and again, meaning that we were in Egypt, figurative, physically, and now we're in Egypt figuratively, and physically, because our ancestors or our grandfather's grandfather, did serve on cotton fields, plantations over here in Babylon the Great, which is America, and Jake was in that disillusioned state of mind for 350 years. Okay, so for that period of time, Jake was being chastised because they transgressed the law, statutes, and commandments of Yahweh Shem Shai. All right, but I'll continue. It says, "And Yahweh Shem Shai shall bring thee again." So like it, "And Yahweh Shem Shai shall bring ye into Egypt again with ships, by the way whereof I spake unto you. Thou shalt see it no more again, and there ye shall be sold to your enemies for bondmen and bondwomen, and no man shall buy you." All right, and that word "buy" means to redeem. Okay, so no one's going to bring you out of the hell that you're in. Okay, no one has the power in their hand to end your captivity except for Yahweh Shem Shai. All right, and He's coming to redeem us or to buy us back, which He already purchased us by His blood, as it says in that Isaiah chapter 52, verse 3. I perceive, but with that, since Yahweh Shem Shai has bought us back into, so we can enter into these times into our proper minds to realize who He is and who we are as a people. Okay, but I'm gonna go back to that Baruch chapter 2, verse 30. It says, "Where for I knew uh, that they would not hear me, because it is a stiff-necked people. But in the land of their captivity, they shall remember themselves." All right, and that that's a prophecy that came to pass, because now that we're in Babylon the Great, through Abba Bivens, through our elders and apostles here at GMS, that brings out the pure word of Yahweh by Shemel Shai, no filler. You know, we have been brought back into this proper understanding of who we are. All right, we're not so-called Negroes. We're not so-called Spics. We're not Uncle Tomahawks. We're the children of Israel. All right, Judah, Benjamin, and Levi for the southern kingdom, and the 10. The Zebulonites. The Reubenites. We are all in Babylon the Great right now to serve out the rest of this captivity, because it says in that Jeremiah chapter 16 verse 16, Judah and Israel shall serve captivity together, loosely paraphrasing. All right, so all this is culminating because we can see the light at the end of the tunnel, because Yahweh Shemel Shai has made good his word. All right, he has made good his word for him to put holy hell on his people. He has made good his word to start to put holy hell on these other countries, which that's culminating right now in the Valley of Jehoshaphat. Where all these other nations are in the Middle East right now. Trying to, figure out exactly what they're going to do. All right, because Babylon the Great's there. Russia's there, China's there. All these other countries are there. All right, and they're playing their piece within this whole scheme of things, which is the mind of Yahweh Shemel Shai being played out upon this earth. Okay. But I'll continue. It says, and in verse 31, it says, "And shall know that I am Yahweh by Shemel Shai, their power, for I will give them an heart and ears to hear." All right, because we have the heart of Yahweh by Shemel Shai. We have ears to hear. We hear what's going on this planet right now. All right, our people has started to come together, as it says in that Ezekiel chapter 37. So like it, and with us coming together, we are starting to see, who we are as a people. All right, so like it, you so-called blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans of Negroid descent. You are the children of Yahweh Shemel Shai that was cast out across the whole planet Earth. All right, and when you land in your proverbial countries, across this planet Earth, you were there for a reason. Yahweh Shemel Shai has set you up, in that particular hell that you're in. Because everybody's going through the same hell. Every brother is going through the same hell, but in their own walk. Okay, and as we go through our own hell in our own walk, it's all going to culminate to us coming together, and being the bride of Yahweh Shemel Shai. All right, but we have to go through this period right here, because this is uh, the book of Baruch, or a letter from Jeremiah, talking to the southern kingdom, you so-called, Judah, Benjamin, and Levi, so-called blacks, so-called Haitians, or Benjamites and Levites, and we had to go through a dispensation of time where we were no people. all right, to get to this point where we're at now, where we can realize and understand that we are the children of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. All right, but I'll continue. It says, and they shall, verse 32. Well, I'll read 31 again into 32. It says, and I'll start at 30. Salakia. It says, for I knew that they would not hear me because it is a stiff-necked people, but in the land of their captivity they shall remember themselves, or come back to the understanding. It says, and shall know that I am Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, their power, all right, for I will give them in heart and ears to hear, and they shall praise me in the land of their captivity, and think upon my name. So we are giving praise unto Yahweh by Shemi Shai, in the land of our captivity, our captivities all over the four corners of the earth. Here in Babylon the Great, we give praise unto Yahweh by Shemi Shai because His name endureth forever, okay, and His word endureth forever. So Yahweh by Shemi Shai is going to save His people out of all holy hell that's going on upon the earth right now. All right, and that shows that we know the name of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. So all the other camps that's telling us, oh, we don't know the name hasn't been given unto us. Yahweh Bashem Yahushai has given His name unto the elect. All right, the 144,000 that's scattered across the four corners of the earth. Okay, because Yahweh Bashem Yahushai has to. So like His name, His word shall not go out void. If He says that He's going to do something, He's going to do it to the 10th power. Okay, Yahweh Bashem Yahushai is going to do it 100%. Okay, and so in the land of our captivity, we shall remember ourselves. All right, and we should think upon the name of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. Verse 33, it says, and return from their stiff neck and from their wicked deeds, for they shall remember the way of their fathers, which sinned before Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. So our forefathers sinned before Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, and chose not to go through His proper way. Chose to try to go up some other way, and you can't do that. You have to go through the door. All right, and who's the door? Yahweh Shai. Okay, so with that, this is history. All right, and with this history, we understand the mystery. All right, and call the Bashem Shai for it. Okay, because that means that all this holy hell that's going on across the four corners of the earth right now is coming to a head. And that head is to where you so-called blacks, Latinos, Native Americans of Negroid descent shall obtain the kingdom. As it says in that Luke chapter, Luke chapter 12, verse 32. It says, fear not, little flock, for it is your Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. Okay, so that's where it all boils down to. It's Yahweh Bashem Yahushai playing out this whole movie, saying, okay, bet I'm going to give my people, you so-called blacks, Latinos, Native Americans, of Negroid descent, the kingdom to come. All right, and that's the kingdom of us being on top and everybody else being on the bottom. All right, especially Esau Edom, fuck ass nigga. I can't even say your name without calling you a fuck ass nigga, bro, because you a bitch. All right, but with that, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory due to Yahweh, Bahashim Yahushai, Bahashim Kakodash, double honor to the elders and the apostles of great millstone that rule well. Peace and salutations to all the Akimat in the four corners, teaching truth and sincerity. Shalom and shalom.